Good morning, welcome to today's video. Now I am once again in the Sheffield Maker Shop, but fortunately enough for me and also for the Folktale prompt, I've already done today's prompt. So the prompt today is illusion, and while I get ready to go to the shop, I'm going to play you the time lapse and the story, and then when that's finished, let's spend a day at the Sheffield Maker Shop and hopefully get some observational sketching done of the people sitting in the cafe outside. Oh, and I've also had a couple of questions from you guys, so we'll be answering those as well. Fox trotted on until he reached the castle of the Worm. He was a huge dragon and had been a great warrior in his day, but now he had grown fat and lazy. "Good day," said the fox, pretending to be very breathless and frightened. "You're the Worm, aren't you?" "Yes," said the dragon boastfully, "I am the Great Worm. My poor fellow, I am so sorry for you. The king with a great force is coming to destroy you and all of your people." "What?" the worm gasped, turning sickly green with fright. "My dear fox, I'll reward you richly. Help me hide so that the king won't find me. What about the shed where the linen is stored? If you locked the door from the outside, the king would never find me." "Very well," the fox agreed, "but we must hurry." So they ran outside to the shed where the linen was kept, and the worm hid himself under the linen. The fox locked the door and then set fire to the shed. And soon there was nothing left of that old dragon but a handful of ashes. If you've never been here before, hello, I'm Emma. I'm an illustrator living in Sheffield, and sometimes I staff the Sheffield Maker Shop in the Winter Gardens because they very nicely stock some of my work. So that's where we are today. There is a cafe outside and it's really good drawing fodder. So when I'm here, as long as there's no customers to serve and no shop work to do, I like to get my sketchbook out and I like to do some observational sketching. So let me just prop you up and get sketching, shall we? Wow, what a busy day today. There's something going on in town, some kind of Christmas event, and everyone's out. I've literally had like wall-to-wall people for like 4 hours. So we've got like 2 minutes left. So before I lock the door, I've got a question from Valentina, and coincidentally, I actually met Valentina today. So hello, Valentina. Thank you for coming into the shop. It was really nice to see you. And sorry, I was a bit frazzled, but the amount of people that were here today, my brain was just like properly shut off. So really lovely to meet you. So Valentina said, I noticed you're very green, and I was wondering if you consciously choose materials that are kinder to the planet. Also, how do you deal with waste? I often feel quite guilty about my piles of sketchbooks and wonder if I should go digital or try recycling my house waste as art supplies. What a great blinking question. And cut to the shop being closed. There's so many people out there that I thought I'd turn the lights off while I answered this little bit, but it might be a little bit dark. So let's go home and I'll answer that bit of the question there. I'm home. So let's get that question answered. So you're completely right. I do try and be as like eco-friendly and eco-conscious as possible. And I've been doing that for a good few years now. So it started off 2016 maybe, when I saw a David Attenborough programme on the telly, and I remember I'd had a really kind of bad day at work, and I just wanted a nice nature programme to make me feel better that I could just watch in the background. And this lovely nature programme was all about albatross colonies, and it was basically the decimation of albatross colonies. And they were looking at the carcasses of these albatross that had died on their nests, and their carcasses were just chock full of plastic. And it wasn't just like obscure fishing equipment plastic, it was printer cartridges, golf balls, toothbrushes, toothpaste, bottle lids, all the kind of things that you see every day. So I was like, right, this is it, I'm gonna have to do something. So that's when I started exploring like the possibility of like bamboo toothbrushes, like being plastic free, like plastic free shops, and trying to reduce the amount of plastic possible in my personal life. Also in my business, I decided to be done with cellophane wrappers, and I started looking for like suppliers that would supply me plastic free. So rather than just buying the cheapest thing I could get, like, I'm not going to name any brands, but like when you start out in a business, you look for like the cheapest supplier so you can get the most profit back. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. I was looking for like ethical suppliers who were local, who were also plastic free. But you've got to remember that anything we do is going to have an impact. So what I did was pick the least bad options. So for me, I wanted to cut down plastic. So when I buy sketchbooks, I get sketchbooks without any like plastic lamination, without any plastic binders or anything like that. It's just paper. So this will be able to go in a compost heap and could be back to the earth in not very long. So rather than so when I'm making choices like this, I make the choice that has the least impact, because everything has an impact. You can't live your life in a vacuum. Even your best decision, your best things that you do through life, they all have an impact. But choosing choosing the least impactful option, if that makes sense, is the way I go for it. And that's the way that you can look at it yourself if you are trying to be more like eco. So for me, it was plastic. So I try and choose plastic-free options. I use refillable pens. So where are they? I used to use these things. The Pitt Artist pen. I don't know if they're still not refillable, but they're not refillable, which is a shame because I used to go through them at a rate of knots. I've still got a bunch. This is a brush pen, but they come in different ways. They come in different nibs. But now, for brush pens, I use Ecoline pens. These can be refilled. So a brush pen like that. You can refill them with Ecoline watercolours, which come in a little glass container. And this has got a little pipette. If I can open it. Got a little pipette at the end, which is glass. So you can use this to refill this when it's out of ink. So you just twist it off, that comes out, and you just refill that. The way I've done it, I don't know if this is right, but I refill that like with half and half water and ink, or watercolour, and they've worked perfectly like new again. But also, like I'm saying, it's a sliding scale of impact. I do have a load of things that aren't refillable. I'm not going to throw these out. I'm going to use them until they're used up, because if you're worried about your impact, by throwing out something that you're not going to use, the energy that's gone into making this product was for nothing. So I want to make the energy that's gone into making this worthwhile, and then when this is finished, I'm going to choose the better option of the two. So for me, that's the refillable one. I also decided to move away from acrylic paints because acrylic has plastic in it. In its name, it's acrylic. Acrylic is plastic. So acrylic paints have got plastic in them. Acrylic gouache, so acrylic gouache, that is based on the same kind of thing. So for me, that I never used acrylic that much anyway. It wasn't a big deal. I prefer gouache, normal gouache, watercolour gouache anyway. If you're unsure whether your gouache is acrylic gouache or normal gouache, the test is when it's dry, if you add water to it, if it does reactivate with water, then it's traditional gouache. So also with acrylic gouache and acrylic paints, you've got the impact of the plastic from your wastewater going down the drains. So there is a way that you can collect all of your plastic waste and filter that. It's not just a matter of filtering it through coffee filters. I did try that, and that it doesn't work at all. What you need to do is you need to add an agent in there which it clumps all of the plastic and the residue together, and then you can filter it. I'll pop a link down below. There's a Jackson's article. Jackson's Art have done an article on one of their blogs which tells you how to do that process. So if you do use acrylic paints but you want to minimise your impact, go and check out in the video description, check out the Jackson's blog post, which I've put a link to. That will explain how you can go forward and filter your own wastewater if acrylics is something that you use a lot and you don't want to give it up, but you want to reduce your impact. And regarding the using technology to reduce the amount of kind of physical sketchbooks you kind of waste or use, you've also got to think about the more technology you use, the more kind of problematic precious metal mining there is. And you've got to consider the processes of making all of the components for all of those parts, which will have an environmental impact in like the energy consumption that they've made for that part. Then think about the built-in obsolescence of all technology. So within a few years, maybe the updates will stop coming from, I don't know, Apple or whoever you've got. You eventually may not get an update for your very old piece of technology if you've been using it for many, many, many years. And then there's always that kind of pressure to buy the new one, and then the new one, then the new one. If you think about how many mobile phones you've probably been through in the last 10 years. And then you've also got those bits of technology, those bits of plastic, bits of metal hanging around. What do you do with them? They're not easily recyclable. So for me, I think technology's got its part to play. I love working on the iPad, and it is a really wonderful tool. But to me, it doesn't replace actual paper sketchbooks. I really like a paper sketchbook. I like how holdable in my hand it is, and to make the choice of this more acceptable for me, I choose non-plastic laminated ones. I use ones that are fully paper, fully recyclable, and then if anything happened to me, like in 100 years time, if this place is like underwater or whatever, these will have decomposed back to the earth anyway. And actually that's a really nice rounded way that I approach kind of materials and stuff, is I think about it in 100 years time, in 1,000 years time, long after I'm gone, will this be here? This will be, unless it gets burned or recycled, because there's things in there, I don't know if that's all recyclable. It's probably just going to get landfilled. That'll still be there. I mean, that'll probably still be there. When this breaks down though, because this is glass, it's not going to create microplastics that create problems in animals. So this I'm less bothered about than this. But yeah, so personally, when I approach whether I'm going to buy something or something else, I think about the impact that that's going to have in 1,000 years time. When this breaks down, is it going to cause more problems than this? It's something you've got to hold lightly as well, because it could eat you up, the kind of the guilt of things. But you've got to remember that everything we do, everything animals do, anything that exists has an impact. But when you're making your choices, if it's something that you want to consider, just try and consider the least bad option, because remember, everything has an impact. I hope that's been helpful. Hopefully I haven't waffled too much, and hopefully that has answered your question. If you've got any more specific questions, or if there's something I haven't answered that you wanted answering, or you wanted my take on it, let me know in the comments, and I will do my very best to get back to you and give you a non-waffly, more concise answer. But I'm absolutely exhausted after the day in the shops today. It's been non-stop people, and I just want to have my dinner. So I'm going to go now, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.